Hi, my name is Steve Couch, and I'm an alum of GRCC Second Institute for Culinary Education. And today I have an exciting recipe to share with you. We're gonna make a salmon panzanella salad, and we're gonna take a trip over to Tuscany to do so. So this salad is really made popular in central Italy, right there in Tuscany, and it's actually a salad made of day-old bread, and it's soaked in a simple tangy dressing, usually with tomatoes, cucumbers, basil, a little bit of olive oil. But we're gonna do a variation on that. We're gonna introduce another element like a stone fruits. Stone fruits are great for the summer. They come into season right around August. Today we're gonna use apricots, one of my favorite stone fruits. It can be roasted, it can be pureed, it can be dried out. Apricots are so incredibly versatile, and I love them. So we're gonna utilize those today. But the first thing we're gonna do to get started, I'm just gonna have a couple of cherry tomatoes. So I already have some down here in a bowl that I've cut in half, and what I'm gonna do is just gonna add those. So you wanna just cut these cherry tomatoes, and these are heirloom tomatoes that are really naturally sweet. They come in different colors, and they're gonna add a little bit of a color and brightness to our salad. So I'm just gonna get those cut in half and add those to our bowl. Next, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add some apricots. So I'm just gonna cut around that pit. That seed easily falls away when they're ripe apricots, and I'm just gonna take those. I'm gonna bring a couple out. Just get some apricots cut here, right around that pit. Seed comes out. I'll get those, and I'm just gonna do this. So it's good when you're cooking to kind of cook in stages. So if you're gonna remove pits, remove all the pits first, kind of like an assembly line, right? Remove all the pits first. Now you have all halves. Everything is ready to get started. Now I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna come right down here and around. I'm coming around and make these little wedges in our apricots. Then I'm gonna give them a nice little chop to get them in the pieces that we like for our salad. So I'm gonna get that and throw those in. So I'm just gonna come around and do that for each of these. I love apricots. They have a good amount of what's called pectin. Pectin is it's like a cell cementing substance that kind of allows apples, blueberries. It gives it that kind of enables them to kind of stick together. And when you add apricots like pectin with that pectin into your sauces or anything you're making, a lot of times they'll bring that thickness along with them. So if you ever cook like a blueberry compote, or if you ever see, you ever let that sit out and let it cool, and it kind of congeals a little bit because the natural pectins cause that binding to happen and give you that nice thickness and thickening that you're looking for in your recipe. So I'm just gonna come in and I'm cutting these apricots again into those little wedges and adding them into my bowl here. So I'm just gonna do that with the last of these. Perfect. These cut. I'm adding them in. Wedge, wedge, wedge. Same. And last one. Awesome. So now that I have these wedges cut and my salad, I'm just gonna add them to our bowl. Super simple so far, right? Awesome. Next, I'm gonna take a cucumber. Now, this cucumber is wrapped in plastic, and the reason why, most cucumbers you get from the store are that aren't wrapped in plastic. The normal cucumbers traditionally, they're actually coated in a food grade wax. Why would you do that? Well, you add food grade wax to foods like apples, cucumbers, to keep them from drying out. So English cucumbers, which is like this cucumber, are actually covered in plastic, so they're not waxed. So these are the cucumbers I prefer to use when I'm making a salad pretty often, because now I don't really have to peel them before I enjoy them. I can just eat them kind of as is, and they don't give you that waxy and sometimes a little bit bitter flavor. Now, because cucumbers are like 99% water, so much water involved, what I do is I'm cutting these into long quarters. After I quarter these cucumbers, and just right across the top, I'm gonna just get out some of those extra seeds. These extra seeds here, they provide a lot of water to your salad at the end if you don't remove them. So I just remove those just to get rid of the excess water in the finished product. So I'm just gonna repeat that for each of these quarters of cucumbers. Now, these little seed portions here, you can actually keep these, and I love to just take those and put them into a pitcher of water, and now you have some cucumber water available for yourself. Even with the portion that you're discarding for your salad, it really infuses well into water. And cucumbers are awesome. I love them, and I love infusing them in the water. some research suggests that cucumber is excellent at removing some toxins from the body. So it's really cool to add cucumber water, water to your diet. So I love that. So I have this, so now I'm taking these cucumbers, I'm cutting them up in half and kind of giving them a little slit down the side just to give them a nice little, not too thick, just to kind of make them even with all the other ingredients. And I'm just gonna come in, just dice those down. Nice, beautiful cucumber pieces. Uniform, even, perfect. Now I have those. I'm gonna add those into this bowl here. Oh man, we're making a nice salad. I actually worked in salads for about 5 years, so salad is like my thing. And just if you look at that, oh my God, come in here. Just already you can tell this is gonna be an amazing salad. You can already tell. You don't even have to, just because the ingredients, quality in, quality out. Next, I'm gonna add a few leafy greens. So the first leafy greens and herbs. The first thing I'm gonna add is just some parsley. Parsley, Italian parsley, which is what this is, Italian or also called flat leaf parsley, absolute favorite herb. It is incredible. So when I think about the world of food, and when I think about, I've traveled to about 35 countries now, and what I've seen as the common thread among these countries is really, it comes down to citrus. And I like to divide the world's food into two categories. Basically lemon countries or lime countries. Lemon countries would be countries like Italy, France, Spain, Greece. Pretty much those countries, you can pretty much take whatever you're eating there and you can kind of squeeze a lemon over those foods from those countries and it kind of goes. Now let's think of lime countries. Lime countries are countries like Mexico, India, Vietnam, Argentina. When you look at those countries, basically you can squeeze a lime over anything they're serving and it kind of goes. You would never find a lemon in Mexican cuisine, and you would very, very, very rarely find a lime in, say, Italian cuisine. So lemon countries versus lime countries are ways that I like to look at things. I like to divide the world's, kind of culinary scene. Now, they're also kind of melting pot countries. I'm putting some parsley, adding that to our bowl, giving that some color and lift, freshness. So lemon countries is kind of what I like to focus on from my culinary perspective. I've just connected Lebanon, Morocco. Those are the foods that I grew up with. I'm from Detroit, and in Detroit, there's a huge Middle Eastern and Arab culture. And look at that. See, it's just coming together. You know it's going to be good. You don't even have to ask yourself, is this going to be a good salad? You can see that it's coming together. It's building itself on its own. So now we have some beautiful parsley that's been added to our bowl, and that's going to be the basis of our salad. Yes. You know what? Let's add some basil. Now, I love basil. This is sweet Genovese basil. This Genovese basil is wonderful. Now, if you ever have a plant like this and you're picking from a plant, what I like to do is kind of pick, when you first get that basil, if you're growing this at home, just kind of pick that little portion off the top here. When you do, and you pick that little portion off the top of your basil from your growing plant, this rest of the stem actually splits into two, and now you'll get two basil stalks that grow instead of just the one. Just by pinching that off right at the beginning of the season, as it begins to grow, just kind of pinch off the tops of that basil and it'll split for you, and you'll actually get double the yield when it's time to harvest them by just splitting and pinching off that top portion. So I like to do that. And now I'm going to take this basil, I'm just going to stack it up, and I'm just going to do a nice light chiffonade, like a really thin kind of cut. I'm going to do by just stacking these leaves, stacking them one on top of the other, one on top of the other. I'm gonna roll them into like a tight little cigar shape. I'm gonna come in with my knife, and I'm using a nice sharp chef knife here, and I'm just very lightly, boom, cutting these down into these beautiful little chiffonade-like threads. Nice sharp knife so as not to bruise that basil. But now I have these beautiful little chiffonaded pieces. I'm gonna take those, gather those, and put them right into our salad. Now we have parsley, basil, apricot, tomato, cucumber, beautiful. Now the next thing I wanna add is a little bit of onion. So in this dish, I'm gonna use a red onion, and I want to show you how to dice an onion. I think it's a skill that everyone has to have. I think it's awesome when you're creating dishes to have uniformity, to have consistency, and to know what the outcome is gonna be when you're first starting. So here we go. Here's how to dice an onion. Now, an onion has a stem end and it has a root end. So what you're gonna do when you're first getting started, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna cut through my root end right down, and I'm gonna cut that right in half, making sure to keep that root end intact. You want that because as you begin to dice your onion, this is what's gonna hold that onion and allow it to keep its shape. So now I'm gonna come in and keep it together so it won't all fall apart on you as you're trying to dice it. So I'm gonna come in, I just cut off the stem end. That enables me to now come in and remove this excess little onion paper on the outside, the little onion skin. I'm gonna pull that off of that one. Boom, and I'm gonna pull this off of this one. Here we go. And now this is the same method you can use when you're cutting shallots, when you're cutting, you can even use this when you're cutting garlic, little tiny cuts. So the first thing you're gonna do is, with that root end intact, you're gonna come in and you're just gonna slice this down right there. Boom. Now I'm gonna make this about 1/4 of an inch thick. I want a nice little small dice on this onion. So I'm gonna come down, cut, not cutting all the way through that root end, because again, you need to make sure that you keep that intact so it doesn't fall apart on you. Now I know that my basis of my onion is done. So I know this is gonna be at least this thick going from that way around. So this is a small dice. Now I'm gonna come in and do slice 1. I'm gonna do like a little slice 2 and one more slice 3 there. Not all the way through again, and now I'm ready. Now, when it's time for that perfect cut, I can say boom. The same width apart as I did the first way around, and now I have the perfect, beautiful, small dice. And that, my friends, is how to dice an onion. Now, I'm gonna take that onion, I'm gonna add that to my salad mix here. Oh man, this is gonna be so good. So good. You have to try this salad. It's one of my, like I said, it's one of my absolute favorites. It really, I'm gonna do this one really quickly. It utilizes extra bread that you may have lying around, whatever kind of bread you wanna use. I've used sourdough, I've used ciabatta, I've used excess focaccia. Any kind of bread that you have, baguettes that you have lying around, you can use to generate and make this salad. So there we go. There's my onion. My second half diced and added to my mix. So now we have tomato, we have apricot, we have onion, cucumber, parsley, and basil. Now I'm gonna give that a little toss around again. Oh man, perfect, beautiful salad. Beautiful salad. Perfect, that's the basis of our salad. Now I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna actually sit that over to the side for a second, because the next thing we're gonna work on is our vinaigrette. Okay, so a vinaigrette is very simple. It's basically a mixture of oil and vinegar, or some kind of acidulant, some kind of acidic type of liquid. So it can be lemon juice. It can be any kind of vinegar that you have laying around. Right now, today, I'm going to use a white wine vinegar, and I'm going to use as my emulsifier. Emulsifier being basically a catalyst for building an emulsion that's gonna allow that oil and water to mix when they naturally wouldn't. So there's several different types of emulsions. The emulsion that we're gonna make today is a temporary emulsion, meaning I'm gonna make it, it's gonna combine and create this oil versus water mixture, oil and water kind of mixture. But if you let it sit in the refrigerator for overnight or a couple of days, it'll likely separate again into its individual components. It's called a temporary emulsion. A permanent emulsion would be like mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a permanent emulsion. No matter how long you let it sit, whether it's at the room temperature or whether it's in the fridge, it'll never separate. So those are the different, a couple of different types of emulsions. There's broken emulsions, frozen emulsions, different kinds. But mayonnaise is an ingredient that allows us to build an emulsion. And I love emulsions as a concept. I love them because basically once you have a nice solid foundation within an emulsion, you can build on that and build on that. Just like if you have a foundation in your schedule, like saying I have to be at work at 9 a.m., you can build an entire life about having to be at work at 9 a.m. because that structure forms structure. You have to say, well, if I have to be at work at 9 a.m., that means I have to wake up at 7 a.m. That means I probably have to go to bed at 11 p.m. to get a good night's rest, which means I probably have to eat dinner at 8 p.m. You can literally take that one little element of your day that has to be done and has to be there and extrapolate that into a whole full life. So it's the same way with an emulsion. You can take a small emulsion, like a drop of mayonnaise, something that's already emulsified, and you can actually add to that emulsion much easier because it's already structured. So structure builds structure. Great. So now I have salt, I have pepper, I've ground that in, I've added that into my bases here. And this is gonna be our dressing. I'm gonna add a little bit more vinegar, give us a little bit more of that basis and body for our salad. Maybe even a little bit more mustard because we have quite a bit of mix here that we want to make sure that we can dress well. Now I'm going to come in to this little bowl here. And so I'm making this little emulsion happen here. I'm starting this off with some, like I said, that mustard, that vinegar, a little salt, a good amount of salt, nice and seasoned. And now to this, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. Now, as I'm adding this olive oil, I'm gonna just stop, give it a little chance to incorporate, and I'm gonna add more and more. You want about 3 times the oil to the liquid in a normal, simple vinaigrette. It's a simple ratio to think about. If you have 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 3 tablespoons of oil, and that is about the ratio you want to maintain when you're building a nice vinaigrette. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to add a little bit more oil, making sure to incorporate, whisking until I'm forming that emulsion. Oh my God, you can see the structure starting to be formed. You can start to see that oil and water is mixing. It's not just like separate oil and water. Now we're starting to have a complete kind of homogeneous liquid. That's when you know the emulsion was really successful, when you have just kind of one overall liquid. This is a Dijon white wine vinaigrette. I love it. And there you have it, a nice emulsified temporary emulsion dressing. Now, I like that. I think it's really nice. I think it's gonna be really good. But what I want to see in this too is just a little bit of color. I want there to be interest. I want there to be some kind of just like some fleckage, was what Chef Campbell used to say when I was in culinary school. Man, one of the best teachers of our time. And he talked about fleckage, and ever since I left school, I think back and I look at my food and I say, where could fleckage be helpful in this dish when I'm cooking and I'm creating? So I'm gonna take this parsley, I'm gonna chop it kind of fine because I'm gonna use this in 2 different ways just to finish off our dish right at the very end. And you'll see this will just come in and just bring some color. Again, that freshness, interest, beauty to this salad and to our plate at the very end. So I'm gonna chop down this parsley, I'm gonna move that, I'm gonna take that, put that there, and now I'm gonna add a little bit of this to our dressing. And look at that. You see how it lifts that dressing. It adds a little bit of that fleckage. And now you just have, this just looks more interesting. It looks more delicious. You just say, wow, I want this dressing. I want that on my plate. And it's gonna be such a great contrast. Can you see it? Can you imagine this red, this orange, this red, this orange, all these different beautiful pigments, tomatoes with lycopene, that anti-cancer antioxidant, which is beautiful. It's a really beautiful pigment. You have the anthocyanins that's found in red onions, anthocyanins being the things that make raspberries red, the things that make lots of berries red, which is another important phytochemical that's really anti-cancer. You have the apricots that have beautiful pigment. You have the cucumbers with that green chlorophyll. These are all the elements you want to see in your healthy diet. The 5 components of a healthy diet: adequacy, balance, moderation, variety, calorie control, ABCMV. Those are the 5 elements of a diet. But when you see something like this and you know you're getting ready to eat it fresh from your garden, Michigan has some of the most amazing produce. You know that you're gonna have, you're working and you're contributing to your health. Everything that we are was something that we originally ate. So it might as well be good. We might as well make food good. So now I'm taking this ciabatta bread. I found this ciabatta bread here in Grand Rapids, right downtown at the downtown Grand Rapids Market. I got it from Field and Fire Bakery. They do an amazing job over there creating some beautiful loaves of bread. These are some of their, they also sell day-old bread. So I was able to go in and find this beautiful day-old bread. Oh my God, wait till you see. I can envision this in my mind, making this and how this is gonna look on our plate at the end. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna take this bread. I'm gonna take this bread and I'm going to, I'm actually gonna bring it over and I'm gonna toast this down. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna bring this back over. I'm gonna take this little sheet tray here. I'm gonna take this bread, I'm gonna just lay it down into some nice little pieces here on my sheet tray. I'm gonna come in, boom, 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 nice bread is down. Now I'm gonna take some of this beautiful extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin, right? You know the difference between extra virgin and just regular tasting olive oil? What's the difference? What makes it extra virgin? Extra virgin means actually it's a cold pressing. It has never seen heat. So extra virgin olive oil is from that very first pressing of those olives. It has a little bit of the residual fruits, the fruit essence or must inside of the oil. And so that's why when you go to cook, if you try to, I'm gonna sprinkle this with a little bit of kosher salt. So before I put this into my oven, but that's why when you put olive oil on a hot pan, it kind of starts to smoke a little bit because it's actually those fruit residues actually burning away in that process of heating. So extra virgin olive oil has that really tremendous, fruity, robust, beautiful flavor, slightly acidic, really good, and which is what you want in your olive oil, in your extra virgin olive oil, that beautiful, robust flavor. I'm gonna take these pieces of bread, I sprinkled them with a little salt and pepper, and again, drizzled them with olive oil, and I'm gonna get this into a 400-degree oven. So I'm just gonna go ahead, come over to my oven, and I'm gonna go ahead and put those inside. I'm just gonna let those go and let those toast and become beautiful for us. I'm gonna take our parsley that we cut down earlier again. I'm gonna sit that over to the side here because we're gonna reserve that for later on when it's time to build our beautiful plate at the end. Now I'm gonna take this cutting board over. I'm gonna give this a little brush off to get rid of all that excess crumb. Perfect. I'm gonna set this back down over here. Now, I'm gonna stack this one on top here. And now I'm gonna move our parsley over to the side. And now we're gonna transition over now into our salmon. So I picked up some local, some beautiful salmon from one of the local markets here. And it's a wild caught salmon fillet. So I'm gonna bring that over. And now we're gonna get introduced and introduced to our salmon here. So I'm actually gonna take that and set that right here on our cutting board. Move this the way. I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna get rid of this tray over here. And give it a nice little rinse. Now I'm coming over and here's our salmon. So I'm gonna prepare this I'm gonna show you how to pan roast today. So now I'm gonna take this. Now salmon has this little kind of fatty element over here, which while delicious, it's a little thinner than the larger part of our salmon fillet here. So I'm gonna try to make a couple of portions out of this thicker part of the salmon so it all cooks evenly. So I'm gonna come in about right here and I'm gonna cut down and I'm gonna separate that belly here from the main body of the salmon here. So now I have this piece and I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna check for any pin bones that may be located inside. Oh, I found one. So I found this little pin bone that's here. I'm gonna take that, toss that into this bowl. Good, and making sure there's no major pin bones. I see another one here that I'm gonna try to pull out. There, perfect. There's our pin bones in. And so a lot of places will do this pin boning for you, but sometimes I like to do it for myself because sometimes when you get that, when it's pulled, sometimes it can damage the fillet a little bit and kind of beat it up. So I like to do that when I get home. Now I'm gonna take this portion and I'm gonna cut it, boom, right in half. I'm gonna flip that over. Oh, look at that beautiful skin. I'm actually gonna keep this skin on when cooking that salmon today. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come in here and I'm gonna what's called score it. I'm gonna score this salmon right through the skin here. I'm gonna make a little cut just past the skin. I'm gonna do 1, I'm gonna do 2, and I'm gonna do 3. Why? Well, if you can imagine putting this piece of salmon into a hot stove, what's gonna happen is that salmon is gonna wanna cook and it's gonna wanna is gonna wanna tighten up. When it tightens up, the edges of that salmon would pull away from the pan. If it pulls away from the pan, then you won't get that nice sear on all sides of that salmon. So I'm scoring it to actually release the tension from the skin so that when it tries to draw up, this scoring mark here will prevent it from pulling away from the pan. I'm gonna score that twice on that side on this one since it's a little bit smaller. So now I have two beautiful pieces of salmon that are ready to sear. I'm gonna keep that belly to the side. I'm actually gonna set that over here, and I'm gonna get these ready, and I'm gonna transition over here to my stove. So I'm just gonna give myself a quick rinse. So now I'm over here with our salmon. I'm gonna get this heated, and I'm gonna take a little bit of canola oil, just a little bit, not olive, because again, like we said, olive oil will start to smoke a little bit lower than this canola oil. So I'm gonna come in and put this in our pan just to give ourselves a nice oil and a conductor to make sure that salmon is seared nice and our skin is brown. So I'm gonna bring that up. I have this on a medium-high heat, and that's gonna prepare us to get that salmon skin nice and crispy and brown. I love this method of roasting salmon. Super simple. So let's give this a second to heat up, and then we'll get started. You want a searing hot pan here because you want the salmon to, again, hit a hot pan, and you want to get that nice brown sear on your salmon. So this is heating, this is coming up. Give it a couple more seconds. Oh, nice. So now starting to see the smoke rise from that. I'm gonna set that salmon right down on there, skin side down. Next fillet, I'm gonna come in, add that, skin side down, and that's starting to sear for me right now. Perfect. Now, I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna add a little kosher salt to that fillet right on that side. Boom, right there on that side. Beautiful seasoning right on there. That's gonna stick pretty nicely to our salmon. I'm gonna give that a chance to do a little quick sear. I'll leave that over there. Then I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna come in here with a little black pepper. Got water for my hands. Little black pepper right in there, and I'm seasoning that side now. Now that's searing. Now, what you'll notice is sometimes you'll put fish into a pan like this, and you'll be worried because it's stuck to the pan. Well, another thing that happens as protein cooks, right, and you see that liquid kind of rising off you see the steam coming off the meat, that's actually water escaping. That water escaping and that natural shrinking that occurs as a result is what is causing that salmon to actually unstick itself from the pan when it's ready to flip. So that's another thing that's awesome about cooking in stainless steel pans, is that even if it sticks, it kind of helps you to know when it's done by when it releases itself from the pan. So it'll kind of let me know when it's ready for me to flip it over and get it into our oven. Perfect. So that's starting to sear. Now, one of the things you may have heard is that, oh my God, I love to get my salmon or my meats nice and caramelized, right? Or seared and caramelized, they seal in the juices. Well, actually, meat doesn't really caramelize. Meat only goes through a protein browning. Protein browning is caused by what's called a Maillard reaction. Maillard reaction, it gives you those little brown bits you see at the sides of your pans when you pull out a piece of meat that are crispy, brown, delicious. That is actually formed from what's called a Maillard reaction. So now, it looks like my pan is nice and hot. My salmon is cooking. I'm gonna come in and take a look. Oh, look at that. It's already starting to release itself from the pan. This one needs a little bit more time. You see how this one's releasing easily, but this one needs a little bit more time before we flip it. Oh, now it's starting to release. Awesome. One thing you want to know about any meat that you're searing, especially if you're pan roasting, get it to the brownness, the level of brown that you would love to see if it was actually sitting on your plate. Once you flip this over, which is what I'm going to do in a second here, once I flip this over, it's still searing, it's still coming up to getting that nice crispy crust. Now our small one is already there, it's already ready for me to flip over, and our large one is really close behind it. What you'll notice is that once you flip this over, oh, look at that, the beautiful brown beautiful brown skin. Now, once you put this in the oven, it's not gonna get any browner, whether it's chicken, whether it's pork, whether it's beef. It's gonna get no browner than it was when it was originally cooking on this first side. That is the reason why you have to make sure you do that first part completely, making sure that it's brown. Now I'm gonna come in on this side. I'm gonna season a little bit of salt right onto that side. I'm gonna come in again with a little bit of my black pepper. And now you're pretty much set up. Now I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna turn that off. And I'm gonna get this into a 400-degree oven. Oh man, just in time to pull out our bread. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull, oh look at that. Now I'm gonna pull out our bread, toasted, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful bread. I'm gonna bring that over here. I'm just gonna sit that over to the side to cool. Now, once our salmon is in our oven at 400 degrees, you're gonna cook that for about exactly 4 minutes. 4 minutes is what you need to get that salmon a perfect, I like to cook it up to like a medium well. If I pull it out at that moment, it'll kind of rest. The salmon will be super tender in the middle and it'll be cooked really well on the outside. So as that's finishing up, I'm gonna start to come over here and I'm gonna build our salad. Now, let's talk about salad for a second. Okay, so salad. Now, what you want to make sure is just like mashed potatoes, just like any side or any starch or anything that you're making where you may have a dressing or you may have a gravy or you may have something accompanying it. It's very, very important to make sure everything tastes good on its own. Don't rely on dressing to make sure your salad is good. So just in case one of your guests comes over and they're not able to, they got a piece of leaf or a piece of lettuce without the dressing on it, like, oh my God, that's plain. Or they get some mashed potatoes without the gravy and they say, oh my God, the mashed potatoes were really good only with the gravy. Let everything shine and stand on its own. So to do that, I'm gonna come in before I even add any dressing. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna season this salad with a nice little bit of good healthy pinch of salt. And I'm just gonna come in and I love using freshly ground black pepper. Spices, especially when you get them from the store, sometimes you don't know how long they've been there. And sometimes when you go to your refrigerator and to your spice cabinet and you pull something out, sometimes it's been in there for a year, sometimes 2 years, and spices, just like coffee, just like anything, once you grind them, they start to lose their potency over time. So I'm gonna take this, and so you wanna make sure you try to freshly grind your spices whenever possible. Now to this salad, I'm just giving it a nice light toss. I'm gonna pinch in a little bit more of that kosher salt. Give that a nice little light toss. As I get that ready for our plate. Oh man, guys, this is so beautiful. Beautiful salad. Now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna take a little bit of my dressing, give it a quick little stir again. And I'm gonna simply pour that dressing down into my salad. Now I got a nice little amount of dressing in there. Beautiful. Coating that salad. I'm gonna set this down. Let me give this one more little toss. Right through, tossing that salad through. Wow, look at that dressing is coating nice and evenly. I got my basil, my parsley, my vegetables. Absolutely gorgeous. Perfect. Now, it's time to build. So now, I'm gonna take a little plate here, and now I'm gonna bring it all together. I'm gonna get my pieces of bread. I'm just gonna start with 3 pieces of bread. I'm just gonna nicely shingle them right here down on this plate. Beautiful. Now I'm gonna take a spoon and I'm gonna take a little bit of my salad mix here. I'm gonna bring this all over so you can see it a little bit more clearly. Just gonna move this down. You really wanna see this. Amazing. Now, I'm gonna take my salad here, got my fresh, beautiful parsley, slide that over here. I'm gonna start to build this. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this, and I'm just gonna mound this right over the top of my bread here. Beautiful right down the center, nice and abundant. You want it to look full. You wanna give it a little bit of height. And this is gonna be the bread, this is gonna be the base for our fresh salmon. Beautiful salad. instead of ripping the bread, which a lot of people do in panzanella salads, which is also great, ripping the bread and adding it, I'm just gonna use it here as a nice little base here just to give us a little bit of interest. It's gonna now, as this salad dressing and as this salad starts to be, the salt starts to pull the water out of the vegetables, it'll actually pull that out, even add to the dressing, and then begin to soak into those nice pieces of bread. So by the time you get to them at the bottom of this salad, oh my God, you have just amazing mouthfuls of deliciousness as you enjoy this dish. So now we have that baseline built there. You know what I think this needs? I'd love to add even a little bit of goat's milk cheese, like a fresh chev. So I'm gonna pull out a little log of fresh chev here. I think that'd be a great little finisher for our salad. I'm just gonna take some pieces here. I'm just gonna crumble those beautiful white. Beautiful white. This is a local Michigan chev that I got down at the Grand Rapids market. And I'm just gonna take that, I'm gonna put this right over the top of this. Oh, isn't that just beautiful? I love it. Color, variety, interest, fleckage. So we have that right here into this salad. This is giving you interest. It is giving you different types of flavors, different types of textures. I just love it. Okay, it has been 4 minutes. And now our salmon is ready. Believe it or not, so fast. Just 4 minutes. It's cooked. I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna sit this over here on our cutting board to just rest and let you see and get in here and see this. Oh, beautiful piece of salmon. Amazing. Now that's cooked. Oh, nice and tender on the sides. Beautiful brown. The color, like I said, it's only gonna get as brown as it was when you first seared it. Look at that. I'm gonna sit that salmon right on top. I'm gonna come back over here. Just give it a little bit of love with our dressing here. Come back over. Look at this. I'm just gonna take that dressing. I'm just gonna give it a little bit over there. I'm just gonna come around, right around the sides of our plate there. Interest, look at that, beautiful. Move this over so you can just see. Look at, this is gonna be delicious. That's what I love about it. Just without even eating, without even trying it, it already looks so beautiful. You see why it was important to add that fleckage? Look how it looks on the plate. Look at the interest. Look at the dynamic, look at the dynamic colors. There, boom. Now you have a little bit of herb crustage happening right here on top of my salmon. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of fresh ground black pepper over the top. I'm gonna remove this little fleckage, and there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your salmon Tuscan panzanella salad. I hope you enjoy it.